recently we were really talking about the tech expansion in Texas and how Houston, but more notably Austin, had secured several major company headquarters away from California. And in this week, we're really talking about another Sunbelt city that has been rising in the tech world in the last few weeks. Atlanta. They in the last few weeks have gotten major operations agreements from Microsoft and from Airbnb. I know Microsoft already had some level of presence in the city already, but I think this is a significant win for them, and I think many would agree. So, Max, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, really big. So the Airbnb announcement was complete news to me. I don't know if there were rumors or if it was already widely known and expected in the Atlanta area, but that was news to me. Whereas the Microsoft announcement kind of came after a great deal of speculation for quite a long time. So either way, though, yeah, these are two big wins. The Microsoft expansion into Atlanta is supposed to bring with it up to 15,000 jobs if everything goes well over the course of who knows how long, but still it's very significant expansion. They have like 90 acres. They've purchased land for a 90-acre campus, pretty close to in the urban core of Atlanta, and so there's a lot they can do there. They also have a lot of different sites within the city and outside the city. So it's not like as you said, it's not like this is a new place for Microsoft, but this is a pretty significant expansion that they're talking about. And then with Airbnb, they're calling it their East Coast headquarters. A little deja vu with the HQ2 from Amazon, but there's no understating how significant this is. Airbnb is coming off like this very successful IPO. They're sort of navigating that post IPO sort of maturity growth time period now, where they really need to see how they can ride this wave and continue to grow and continue to build. And I think that what they're looking at is targeting more tech products and increasing their diversity within that sector, within that department. And so they've stated their goals as by 2025 having 50% female representation and 20% underrepresented minority representation, which I guess makes sense in a place like Atlanta. They're saying they hope to hire from within the city, from within the region, as much of the talent as possible. And of course, Atlanta is known for having sort of that diversity, but Black diversity. So some great higher education institutions in Georgia Tech, Georgia State, Emory, others, and then of course also the HBCUs. So yeah, I mean it seems to make sense.
Yeah. Well, I think it's long overdue in terms of that access to opportunity, which is only to the tech company's benefit, and also that kind of diversity of ideology you can get when you go somewhere as different as Atlanta. I think you have people that have tremendous depth of knowledge and the skill set to work in high level tech jobs, product management, or fields like that. But I was even talking to a friend about this the other day. He's like, I have the skill set to work in high level jobs in a Boston or San Francisco, but I don't really want to live in a Boston or San Francisco. And so there's really, if you don't, it's kind of the options have been somewhat limited geographically for people that are in tech and these other high level fields. So I think this is it's an opportunity for them to be more mobile and kind of have choice around the country. And I think, as you said, given the access to the proximity to Atlanta itself and kind of the creativity and juices that blends, I think brings together, I think that really will have a positive impact on I think the tech industry as a whole, but obviously also the economy of Atlanta specifically.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so listening to you talk, I don't want to dive too deep into the conversation about Silicon Valley and San Francisco and all of how maybe tech uh, ecosystem globally is shifting and evolving and what's going to happen there. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But as I was listening to you talk, I was thinking that this is a new revelation perhaps for me, but um, you know, tech jobs, tech workers, this skill set has been a focus point, has been in demand for a number of years now. And so what we might be seeing is just now we finally have a large number of people with this skill set. And so
Mhm.
naturally, with such a large group of people, there are going to be a wide range of places that those people want to live, places where they come
Yes.
from, different backgrounds, experiences. And so it makes sense in a lot of ways that we are reaching a point where those tech workers can find jobs and make it work in many different parts of the country.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think we're still looking at a labor shortage in this area. So we're going
Yeah.
to continue to pump out more and more people with this skill set. But yeah, I mean, you can't expect all these people to put up with the lifestyle in Silicon Valley. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, one other thing I wanted to note with the Microsoft uh, announcement is that Quarry Yards, which again, like this is not no surprise, people knew it was coming, and Microsoft purchased this property last year. They Quarry Yards it's in a historically black area neighborhoods and probably ripe for gentrification and and so the concern of course is how this may affect um, people and then in the region, people specifically in proximity to the campus, longtime residents, because of course the tech effect had has kind of wreaked havoc in California and
Sure.
Seattle, and can Atlanta avoid the negatives while reaping the benefits? That's the question, especially when you're talking about such a major transition,
Oh yeah.
like going into sort of a, a struggling area, I
Yeah.
guess, planting this there.
Well, that's a really excellent point. And even Atlanta, on a certain level, has not having the being more of a traditionally having some certain blue collar areas or areas that were have been gentrified already, like Sweet Auburn and Edgewood, and some areas that were really unrecognizable from a couple of decades ago. I think it's kind of I think Salesforce has a major presence there, and so that kind of general movement of Atlanta, it gets more skilled. But does that fundamentally remake the identity of the city? And then you have a situation where you have hyper commuting and those types of things that are Silicon Valley issues now. Do they do that? But at the other side of the coin, I think it really presents an opportunity for people from Chattanooga and maybe even some other areas around Atlanta that gentrification, because Chattanooga obviously is not a place with tons of difficulty, but certain places that really have never seen opportunity now being within a couple hours in Atlanta might really for the first time have some opportunity to grow some of an identity based on that access to a magnet like that. So that's kind of the other side of that coin, I guess.
Okay. I mean, I'm not entirely sure what you're trying to say. So Chattanooga would benefit.
Chattanooga is probably a bad example, but like there are definitely places I think within rural Alabama and rural Georgia that Atlanta is not new either to being a dynamic metropolis and everything like that. But I think as something like this grows, and especially a company like Airbnb that is so transformative in communities in general, I can't help but wonder if there will be. I think there's going to be a balance no matter what, but that that influence of the hypercommuters potentially forming in that area, um, will that potentially positively transform some of those outlying areas? You know?
Mhm. Sure. I guess I see that. I mean, of course, yeah, that could happen. I mean, that happens everywhere. You have a dynamic city with large increase of jobs. Naturally, there's people within an hour or 2 hours, whatever, who feel the effects. People who want to um, live further out from a city, but
Yeah,
still,
yeah.
you know, of course.
Kind of that idea of like the rising tide lifts all boats in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It certainly makes sense. I guess I was thrown off when you mentioned Chattanooga. I don't know.
yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like Chattanooga, in its own right, is much smaller. But in its
right.
own right, it has sort of its own mini tech ecosystem,
Yeah, yeah.
pretty strong for its size.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, yes.
So I wasn't sure if there's some kind of play there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. Uh, so so any other thoughts regarding that?
Um, I would say, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think, I've always felt, kind of connected to Atlanta in a way, given that it is kind of at the absolute nexus of the South and being, basically like, almost like a half day away from it driving. And so I guess my question is if this opportunity and growth of tech will expand in other southern cities, and
Right.
I guess also just kind of, as you said, avoid those negative impacts that can happen when tech comes into play.
Yeah. Well, let's not act like this is new for Atlanta.
Yeah,
they've been making great strides for years.
yeah,
So this is just a big splash because it all happened in a week, and these are two major players announcing pretty major increases or focus in Atlanta in the tech scene.
yes,
So it's a big splash, but this has been building and brewing for a while. Um, I did like the fact that both both in Microsoft's announcement and in Airbnb's announcement, they seem to really want to focus in on how they can help the community. And maybe that's just corporate speak, but Microsoft does, and I know this from experience, they really do um, encourage employees to be involved in the community, volunteer, and they do like a donation match, which they talked about in their announcement, $15,000 they'll match their employees' contributions to local charities. Um, I think that's off the top of my head, but I think it was $15,000. And then Airbnb was talking about how they really want to be cognizant of this sort of tech effect
yeah,
and work with the mayor's office in Atlanta to mitigate this as much as possible. Um, they're going to, unlike Microsoft, they don't have a site selected for this major expansion, and they're going to work with the city there. And also, unlike HQ2, they said that they wouldn't be taking any incentives or
there you go.
to do this. So I mean, what they're saying sounds good, and of course, it's a very difficult thing to do to try to um, do it in such a way that you don't hurt the people who are already living there, already in many cases already struggling. You don't
Yeah,
exacerbate that. What I do wonder is that the Microsoft Quarry Yard site is right next to a MARTA station, the Bankhead
yeah,
station, and which again makes it right for gentrification. But on the other hand, also if you can do it well, it could also allow people to commute in to that
yes,
location from elsewhere, and it's not like everybody, not like you need to have 10,000 employees all dropping into one neighborhood to live and work.
and And so in a way, it can almost be like an opportunity zone. I think those mixed income neighborhoods, as opposed to just having one area off by itself, can really be a kind of an economic propeller for people that really are again kind of struggling prior to Microsoft making this decision also. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, good for Atlanta. I think it's nice to see. Again, I can't stress enough that it's not shocking, but it is a big splash for them. But it's not shocking that it would happen to Atlanta.
yeah,
They're by no means been lagging behind in any way. And in fact, I think although Austin gets a ton of attention, and rightly so for their startup ecosystem, Atlanta really has the sort of educational advantage in that
yeah.
area.
Into the
Very
tech
educated
and
workforce, but
multiple
yeah,
universities.
all the institutions there. So yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Anything else to add?
I think that's it. Congratulations, Atlanta.
Yeah.
So,
All right. I'll talk to you later.
all righty, have a good one.